And looking back on it, it was pretty stupid of me because all they wanted to do was take the song we'd already written and see if they couldn't use quote unquote universal power to get it played more on the radio.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Piebald is an American alternative rock band, I would say like punk band, but whatever, who started as a hardcore band in Andover, Massachusetts, out of the same scene that produced Converge and Cave In. Originally a key Massachusetts post-hardcore band, often seen touring with fellow DIY hardcore bands such as Jesuit, Reversal of Man, and Harvest during the mid to late 90s. They later moved to the Boston suburb of Somerville and became a staple of the greater Boston indie rock scene. A turning point in Piebald's career came when they recorded 7 tracks and put them on the CD that came to be known as Sometimes Friends Fight. Their musical sound had greatly matured, and Travis's lyrical ability was finally brought to the forefront of the band's music. In 2007, they finally called it a day after doing a ton of tours and releasing a shit ton of albums, but have since played some scattered shows since then. Like in 2010, they played at Bamboozle. 2016, they played Wrecking Ball. 2016 again, they announced a reunion tour. 2016, September, there's a lot of 2016s here. Looks like they played a bunch in 2016. 2017, they played a show. And in 2018, they played at Riot Fest. And this past December, Travis took a trip up to Massachusetts to reconnect with his buddies, and they played some shows up there. The first time I heard about Piebald was in some zine, and I talked to Travis about this. And I think it was the same zine where I heard about or learned about Coalesce and Cave In. So I guess it must have been like some kind of hardcore or harder zine or something. So when I got the album, they definitely had a bit of a harder sound, especially I got their EP as well. And then I got When Life Hands You Lemons, and that it kind of like they started to get little poppier. And then a couple years later, I got the video comp Actuality of Thought, which I've talked to in so many of these fucking interviews, and I talked to Travis about this. So in their part of the video, they played Grace Kelly with Wings, which wasn't released anywhere. It was the song that was just like super catchy and had this awesome hook to it. And what I also noticed is just how much fun they had when they were playing, and I love that. And I always loved that about bands that just played without giving a fuck, and that's just how I tried to play all the time. And in 99, they released If It Weren't for Venetian Blinds, It Would Be Curtains for Us All, and I love that record. I used to play that record all the fucking time. It was just this mix of poppy and just different shit that was going on, and I totally loved it. And then my band Lanemeyer, luckily got to play a couple shows with them, and then I saw them a few times here and there throughout the years. So I was really excited to reach out to Travis and ask him if he wanted to do this, and he was like, yeah dude, I'm totally down. And again, it's just the one thing I love about this podcast, because I get to just connect with these bands that I used to really look up to or used to love listening to their music. And there's like, yeah, sure, I'll fucking talk about that. So thank you to Travis for giving me some time and getting on the Skype and talking about these things. Growing up knowing the guys from Cave In and Converge, starting off with a heavier sound, Hydra Head Records, their School Bus, the Actuality of Thought compilation, sharing the bill with harder bands, playing bass for Cave In, Big Wheel Records, The Mac Rock Story, John Cheese, the response to All Ears, All Eyes, All the Time, doing shows with Dashboard in 2020, and a ton more. So again, they are going on tour with Dashboard Confessional in February of 2020, which will be next month, so you should go check that out. You can go piebald.com if you want to check out their tour dates. And before we begin, just want to do a couple plugs. If you want to check out my webcomic, it's Your Daily Bread, B-R-E-D. It's on Instagram. You can also go to yourdailybread.com and check out some of the shit that I have done there. I've released a bunch of books and a couple sketchbooks. The latest one is called Draw Some Richards, a sketchbook for people who like to draw ... You get the idea. Yes, this is a sketchbook that gives you prompts about drawing dicks. So you should go check that out. I used to say it was a great holiday gift, but since the holidays are over, you could just buy it for anybody or yourself whenever you want to. And that's all I got to say about that. If you want to keep the podcast going, just go to thiswasthescene.com to become a Patreon for $1 a month. I don't charge anything else besides that, which is $12 a year, which is very helpful, which I've said many times is like 3.5 Starbucks coffees. You could also donate one time, whatever you like, on the donate button that's somewhere on the website. I think it's like the front page or on the top of like every page. I appreciate any amount helps. It could be fucking $1, it could be $10, it could be $50, it could be $10,000, because I do have a lot of debt that I I need to get out of. So any bit helps. You could also buy some merch, and that's helpful. And I'm also selling merch from bands from back in the day who don't have their stuff anywhere, and I'm trying to get more of them on the site. But right now I've got Jill, True Zero, and Boxcar. I am looking to do some more bands. So yeah, if you want to check that out, again, this was thescene.com. Great. Feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some punk rock nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. Where are you living right now?
I live in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. How long ago did you?
I have for the past 3 years. I moved here 3 years ago. It was pretty much exactly 3 years ago.
What brought you down there?
I just needed to leave Los Angeles, and then on top of that, every time I've been in New Orleans, I've had a magical time, and it's been like the most unique place I've ever been to. So I moved here.
Very nice. I guess for some reason I just always thought you lived in Massachusetts because that's where you guys are from.
I grew up there, and I lived there for quite a while, most of my 20s, and then I lived in Los Angeles for like 14 years, and then from LA I moved to New Orleans. But I mean, I go back to New England regularly, so. And it is where I'm from, so I see why you would think that.
Yeah, my family's from Lynn, so I've frequented Massachusetts my entire life.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, all the other Piebald guys are in New England. Aaron's in New Hampshire, Luke's in Ludlow, and Andy's in Medford. So they're all up there.
How's that been for you guys recording like the new stuff? Because you have that Christmas like 3 song out right now.
We just put up. You have the EP. Yeah, I mean, we have a buddy named Doug. Well, we know a lot of people in Massachusetts at this point, and we can probably count a handful of people where we know that they have studios or access to studios, and we could probably book a day with them. But lately, we've been working with somebody named Doug Batchelder, and he's got a studio in North Reading. It's called The Den, and he's like the sweetest dude ever. He sort of is just, it's like he's really good at us just having the ideas, and he captures them. And then if we need help, we could be like, Doug, what do we do here? And he'll usually have a suggestion in case we can't pull through. But like for the most part, he's just a great like sounding board / collector of our weird ideas.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's got to be very interesting because you guys have a very specific sound that I would say was very just piebald, and to have someone get that when you're going, we're stuck right here, and he's like, oh, do this, or like, okay, like how he can see that and kind of mesh.
Yeah. Truth be told, Doug is a better musician than anybody in Piebald. Like he's much more of a trained professional. We're just like hacks who kind of figured out how to write songs and then got better at it, you know?
I always thought you guys were really good. I always thought you guys were really good musicians.
Thanks. I won't lie. That came with time because like I remember the beginning. We didn't know what we were doing. You know, like it was what's the Dave Grohl quote? He's like, look, when Nirvana started, we sucked. Well, we just kept playing, and with time, you got better. It's like how you're not going to be good at something right when you pick it up, or maybe you are, but then you have some awesome natural skill, and I hope you use that to the best of your ability. But if you're just a regular guy and you're like, oh, I freaking love music, and I have these friends, and we like playing together, you can start off sucking. And then you'll probably get better.
Well, no one picks up a guitar and they just fucking shred unless you're just some
exactly.
prodigal. You know, it takes time, man.
Yeah, you got to keep messing around. You got to play wrong notes. You got to mess stuff up, and then you get better. It's just how it goes.
I would say that I think Andrew's one of my favorite bass players because he just had a very he rocks. His sound is so like
he does.
Yeah.
He always makes the bass line really fun too. I don't think he's aware of it. He thinks about. I will say this, talking about to you right now. Yeah. He takes it more serious than the rest of us in the studio. He wants it to be like this. He's like Paul McCartney. He's got to do the bass line last. You know, we're pretty much done, and he's like, "Oh wait, I got to do this. I'm coming back a week later to track my bass." And we're like, "Okay, weirdo."
Really,
fine, man.
You're like, that's like, the second part of the whole process, man.
I know. Like it's interesting. I don't know what that is. I think it's because Aaron and I can somehow see the finish line faster, and Andy's more like obsessed with all these little like little minute things, and I don't know, I think we just have different takes on like what, you know, seeing the finished product ahead of time and how we see it, you know.
Well, who writes the majority? Sorry, go on.
Me.
Yeah. Okay. We're definitely gonna build back up to this, but we're here now, and so I just want to stay here for a minute because I want to go back in time. But like I'm just since we're here, it's like just little things, little details.
Well, I write most of the stuff. I feel like when we first started, it was kind of half and half, Aaron and I, But now I write, I'd say 75% of the things. But I will say this, everyone else is a really good editor. They help edit the song. It's not, other people don't have a songwriting purpose, even if I bring the main thing to practice. Because sometimes I'm like, look, here's a verse and a chorus, and I know that. But what does it need? And, Luke will have an idea, or Aaron will, or, so I feel like, yes, I bring the bulk of like the meat and potatoes to it, but like Aaron, Andrew, and Luke are the pizzazz adders, they're like good at knowing what maybe something needs or figuring out how to wrangle my brain into finishing a song.
I think I could see that again, like we're going back, but from the albums I've listened to and seeing you guys like live a bunch of times. My band actually played a show with you guys once in like Philly right before we broke up, and it was a small venue, but I always thought like the three of you in the front were always you guys vibed really well. There was always it was we're taking this seriously, but we're not taking it too seriously where we could joke around, but the song structures are really good. But there's this like looseness to it. And I thought like the three of you guys in the front kind of caught that, like got that with each other.
Yeah, I mean, that too, I think took time, even like down to us talking together on stage. Like, I think about how we don't even try now, and we're just talking to each other, and we're laughing, and the audience is laughing, and it just takes so little effort. And
Yeah.
I remember before just feeling so awkward behind a microphone, and I think we all did, and like that shows, and it's just, I guess that takes time, but we've also been friends for 30 years. So
Yes.
like it's just a long history of ups and downs and really awesome times and stuff. But like no matter what, those guys are like my life brothers. Like no matter what happens, if we never play another show, if I go back to Massachusetts, I'm gonna see them.
You could see that though. Like you can feel, like you could sense that with you guys too. Like,
Yeah, there's a friendship for sure. And I know that even if we didn't play music, I would see them when I go up there, or they would come visit me down here. Like there is a friendship for sure.
so let's go back to the beginning, like when you guys met, and like right before that, I always start with what got you into music, and then what got you into punk rock, or what, whatever led you to playing this stuff. And I think this is a good segue, whatever. Since you're talking about like meeting them, because I'm pretty sure it's around the same time of you finding music.
Yeah, well, I think there was a radio station called 101.7 WFNX, and at the time, which I'm thinking early 90s, so like I'm 12 to 14, they were playing actual alternative music when other stations were playing like classic rock or 80s crap jams, or like well, I don't
Oh yeah.
like you hear this yacht rock bullshit, and like that's all well and good, but when I heard WFNX, I was like, I haven't heard music that sounds like this. And it was, the Pixies and Elvis Costello and Driving and Crying and Screaming Trees. And it was like things that I wasn't hearing anywhere else. And so that definitely made my ears open a little bit to realizing like, oh, just because there's these radio stations doesn't mean there isn't other music, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't like tingle the 12-year-old boy inside of me. You know what I mean? So like that 101.7 absolutely, I think sparked a new musical interest within me. But then the real punk rock kicker was probably Kurt from Converge, because he went to the same high school that we did. And basically I was in a band with him. Aaron was in a band with him, and our first drummer, John, was in a band with him. So like all of us played music under this guy, Kurt, who was 2 years older than us, and we thought he was awesome, and he was playing with Converge. And then we all started playing with him, and it led us to meet other people. And so it was, and then there was obviously a really great music scene in the, Merrimack Valley area with, Converge and Piebald and Cave In and other bands that came from that area. And that all kind of started when we were in, early high school under Kurt's kind of like, how do I call this? Like he was like our hardcore dad,
Yeah.
He'd be like, hey, I wrote 37 songs to start a side project. You want to play bass in it? And I'm like, how do you do that? Okay, I do want to do that. So I think, and that helped. Watching him write songs, or like him coming to practice with songs, I was like, oh, this is how you do it. And he's really good at this already, and he's in high school.
Were you playing guitar though as a kid, like leading up to like getting the bands, or did you pick up guitar because you got in the band with him?
I picked up I was a bass player more at first. Well, I
Oh.
played piano when I was a kid, and then I stopped playing piano, and then I thought I liked the bass a whole lot, and so Aaron and I started a band which was called Dork Knob, and you don't have to strike that from the record. That's real. And it was Aaron and myself and this guy Todd Collins, and that was middle school. I was playing bass, Aaron was playing guitar. Eventually, we were like kind of got more into hardcore stuff and more punk things, and so he and I left Todd Collins. We started playing with Kurt in different things, and then we started playing with John Sullivan, who was playing with Kurt in different things. And then we knew Andy's sister, Leah, and she's like, hey, my brother plays bass, and he was in a band called Pretzel Keg at the time. And so we just stole it. You couldn't make this shit up, you know? Okay, so so we take Andy, and then the beginning of Piebald is formed with that happening. And Aaron and I were just like skateboarding friends who kind of like at first hated each other because we're really opposites, but then we learned, we just like grew on each other, and I was like, this guy's nothing like me. I really like him. And I bet he did the same thing with me. And so there was a weird Wonder Twins activate. But
how old are you? How old were you at this point, though?
Let's see.
When you met Aaron?
Started in 94, so I was 77, 87, 15, 15-ish.
All right.
Yeah.
So this was like, wait, so you, the guys from Cave In and Converge all went to the same high school?
No. Jake and Kurt from Converge went to the same high school. Jake was a grade older than me, and Kurt was 2. But Cave In was in Methuen, and that was like 15-minute drive north of us. But Piebald played their first show ever, and like we were just bros from day one. It just like we toured together later. Like
yeah, we'll talk about that later.
It was just a friendship, We've always have been through ups and downs. There are other people that like I know when I go up to Boston, I'm going to see them. In fact, we got Adam's other band, Nomad Stones, to open one of the Christmas shows. That those are people that we have some awesome formative years with.
What was the scene like? What was the mass scene like when you guys started?
It was great. It felt full of magic and life and youthful energy and fun shows that were all ages, and nobody was a drunk asshole because we were all kids who thought drinking was lame. And like we just wanted to party with music and hardcore and the good vibes that went along with that. It was awesome. It was great. It was inspiring.
Do you remember your first local show that you went to?
I'm thinking it was at the Red Barn, which was a place in North Andover where I probably saw hundreds of shows. I'm guessing it was going to be a Converge show, but I don't remember who else played. Probably like 357 Noise, and I don't remember who else, but like there were some bands that probably could have played in the first few shows that I saw there. But that was probably 93, 94 when I started going to the Red Barn.
Okay.
But that place, we played there tons of times. I remember seeing remember that band Walleye? I don't know why that just popped into my head.
No.
But I saw Walleye there. Walleye. They were a Jade Tree band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At any rate, but like, I have a few visceral memories of like seeing Converge play there, and it's basically literally a red barn. There's nothing special to it, but it was like, I think many of us would say, a place where it was like the church of our youth, for music and us, like growing up in hardcore.
Yeah, I loved the fucking mass scene. When we played our first show up there in like I think it was like 97. We were later to the game. I think I'm 2 years younger than you, but we played in Lowell.
Yeah.
And we showed up, brought our shit in. There was no one there. We went to a grocery store, got like something, came back, and it was packed. We're like, what the fuck? Yep. These kids ate this shit up, dude. It was crazy. It was always packed.
There was an energy, and I remember it'd be like, oh, you just go to every show. And I'm talking about not even in Boston proper, like in the burbs.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's a show in North Andover. We're going. Oh, there's a show in Lowell. Let's go over there. Oh, there's a show in Methuen. We should go to that. Just VFW shows. And it's, some band is traveling through. And it's even like, I remember Steve from Cave In booking Giants Chair. And then he's like, dudes, all of our bands got to play because we fucking love Giants Chair. So we put all of our bands on the show, stuff like that would happen. And it was memorable and fun. And we all had this beautiful, like, I don't know, we were all proud of what each other was doing and took pride in our little dumb kid songs that we were making at the time that apparently meant more to us than we could ever have known. It's great.
I think like out of all the interviews I've done, I've pointed out Chicago and then LA obviously for the no or the Fat Wreck sound, and then New Jersey was what they started on. But I don't think I've really talked about Massachusetts that much. But that goddamn, that was such a great spot to play. Did you
There
guys ever
was
play?
a
Did you ever play Merrimack College at all when they were doing shows there?
yeah, I think we did, but I don't remember. I want to say we did. I at least saw a show there,
Okay.
but I think we played there. But a lot of my memory is now kind of hazy. I won't lie.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like some things just blend together, and I'm like, was that 1997 or was that 2004? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I remember because I just used to carry a camera with me all the time and take a shit ton of pictures. So I have all these photos from back then, like physical copies of this shit.
I feel like I remember that, and I definitely remember at least being at a show there. But that would make sense that we played it too. So
Okay,
you might be right. Find your photographic evidence, and then we'll know.
was that you played on a stage in some auditorium, but I mean,
Yep, that sounds familiar. That's what I remember.
you're like, yes, I definitely remember playing on a stage in an auditorium in some place in Massachusetts or somewhere in the fucking country.
Yep, somewhere I did that. Stage in an auditorium.
Okay, so let's like talk about you guys get together and you form Piebald. Now, was it all the four original members, the same guys who stayed in the band the whole time, or was it was you and Aaron and anyone different?
No, it was me, Aaron, and Andy, and we've been in the band the whole time. Andy, a few times, has had to not go on tours with us because he was going to chef school, doing like the grown-up stuff, and so Jim Carroll would fill in his spot. But Jim is like just a really great friend, you know. So me, Andy, and Aaron have been in the band since the beginning. We had a Spinal Tap style rotation of drummers, you know, where they go through a lot of them, but it's not really that many. It's not as comedic. But John Sullivan was the first one. He's an Andover dude. Our second drummer was Alex Garcia Rivera. He is in American Nightmare now, and he does recording and stuff up there. And then when we kind of like broke up for a while, and then when we sort of got back together and made friends, John joined the band again. And then John couldn't do tours and stuff. So right as we were finishing recording Friends, we were all practicing with Luke. And when we finished recording Friends, we just started touring with Luke immediately. So it's like Luke's been there, I don't know, for a very long time, because Friends was recorded in 2001 in the end, and it came out in February of 2002.
Yeah.
And we literally, right after we stopped recording it, we left for tour. We finished that record and we went on tour, and it didn't stop. So, yeah, Luke's been in there for, over 15 years. I can't imagine doing it without him at this point.
When you guys started, like, because your sound, when I first heard of you guys, it was some zine, and they spotlighted you guys, and then I went out and I bought your EP with the teeth on the front on the cover. Do you know what I'm talking about? Obviously, you know what I'm talking
about. I think you're talking about When Life Hands You Lemons.
What was the one before that? It was
first album.
No, it was.
Sometimes Friends Fight.
Yeah, that was the first one I bought.
It's definitely a little more hardcore. And on the CDs, there's like two kids fighting.
Yes.
And,
yeah. That was there teeth on it. I thought it's.
No, that's When Life Hands You Lemons. That's
okay,
the CD itself has like my teeth before there are braces, and the LP has the picture of my teeth before braces on the A side, and my picture of my teeth after braces on the B side.
I can't believe I fucking remember that. That's so weird. Yeah, because I read about you guys, and I was like, something about it like caught my attention, and I went out and I bought that, and I was like, this is like. It was really hard. Like, it was a hard sound. Because later on, you guys became way more poppy. And I think even when Life Hands You Lemons, you could hear that transition. But that first EP, like, it was really, like, screamo-y.
Yeah, the first demo and the first EP were definitely more hardcore influenced, and we were definitely listening to more heavier or screamy stuff. And then I think we just started, we heard things like Sunny Day Real Estate and Weezer and Pixies, and we're like, wait a minute, you can still be heavy as shit, but you can also, it can be catchy too.
Yeah, you got a melody.
Like, you can walk away singing and you could still be, have gotten punched in the face with music for sure. And I fully believe that. I think that's what happened. We were like, look, we can still be heavy, but isn't it nice to sing? So
yeah, I can still have my voice after.
Yeah, more or less yell, but still, like, I don't know. I think we just felt like we could do more than what we had been doing, and so that's what I'm assuming every kind of band does. Or at least in your own eyes, you're growing. Whether the world thinks you are or not doesn't really matter. Well,
Yeah.
it does matter because that translates to a whole bunch of things. But like as a band, you're just going to change. And unless you're AC/DC, who made 18 albums that are exactly the same, most bands do kind of like evolve a little over time. And I think we just started hearing other music that inspired us more, and then we followed that music, you know, like the Weezers and the Sunny Days and the things that we were like, oh, we can still hold on to this heaviness and the ethos of hardcore, but make some prettier things. I don't know.
Like when you guys made When Life Hands You Lemons, that's on Hydra Head, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, which was not a fitting label even
no,
then, really.
no,
You know,
yeah.
like it was mentally and the shows we played and stuff, but it wasn't like the other releases at that time on Hydra Head. We were very different from that, you know.
Extremely. I mean, I'd say you were like that. If that first EP was anything, it would be like it was kind of a lighter sound of what they were putting out. Obviously, Cave In, because Cave In was already on that label at that time, right?
Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
I think they were probably part of why. No, I think we were actually before they were, because we signed to do a 7-inch first, and we were like, our 7-inch was probably Hydra Head 3 or something. So I think they were right after us, and then they really like, I think, propelled Hydra Head to kind of what it is. You know, they helped make it
Yeah, I would definitely agree
make
with
it
that.
what it is. So did ISIS. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
But like, before that, though, you guys did a split, though. You guys had a 7-inch.
yep, we did a split 7-inch with Cave In on Moo Cow.
Yeah.
I don't think I have one anymore, which is really sad because I was all trying to hold on to one forever, but sometimes you just can't do that. But yeah, that was and we had a demo before that, like a cassette demo. There's 4 songs on there, so we did cassette demo, split 7-inch with Cave In, and at the same time we recorded the 2 songs that came out on the Hydra Head 7-inch, but that was after Sometimes Friends Fight, and then those 3 songs. 1 went on the Moo Cow 7-inch, 2 went on the Hydra Head 7-inch, and then I'd say with When Life Hands You Lemons, that was the next thing that we put on the Hydra Head. That was 97,
Yeah.
and that I think really solidified us taking a left turn from our previous music's stylings. You know, I guess you could still hear it's us, but
Yeah, you can. I mean, like when I was remembering, because I went back and listened to When Life Hands You Lemons, and I was like kind of listening to it again, because I thought for some reason that record was a lot harder than it was. Because I think at the time when I was listening to it, the shit that was around me was I was listening to way more poppier stuff. Like, you know, I think at the time it was like bands like Lagwagon and shit like that. But then we were also getting to Mineral and Sunny Day Real Estate and Knapsack, and it was this whole mix. And then you guys obviously stood out. But I thought, like, as I listened to it now, I was like, that's way poppier than I fucking remembered.
yeah, I mean, I even listened to it and I'm like, wow, these are really weird parts to throw together, and this is like weirdly like happy
Yeah.
and like, yeah, it's like I'm looking back on it and I'm like, I don't know how we put some of these things together, but I guess it's a moment you can never relive. You know, you can't. It's like impossible to make the same thing twice. Or again, I guess it's not. I already had my AC/DC example, but like, I look back on When Life Hands You Lemons and I'm like, whoa, we were totally kids. And some people look at Life Hands You Lemons and they're like, this is my favorite Piebald record. There's definitely people that say that.
I mean, yeah, like I would say, I mean, I'm gonna get into Venetian Blinds, but like there, you could still hear elements of you guys now in that record. I think. I mean,
Yeah,
like
I
your
hope
voice. I
so.
think your voice was coming too, because the first record it's more screamy and like it felt like it was more melodic, and you were singing more in When Life Hands You Lemons, and like finding
Yep.
structure some way, but there was like hooks and things like that in that record.
Yeah, and then you're right. I think Venetian Blinds too. We just like took another step where it was like, I feel like the recording got a little better, my voice got better. I feel like the songs got better. Like we maybe not better, progression. Because
Yeah,
again,
progress
somebody's gonna be like, oh, Venetian Blinds is my favorite Piebald record. There's somebody out there that says that. I remember talking to Jeff Rickley. I think I was talking to him about playing albums as a show, and he's like, I know everybody wants you to play Friends from start to finish. He's like, but I want you to play Venetian Blinds from start to finish.
Oh yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
do you know what? It turns 20 this year.
There you go.
I know. Well, no, this year. This year's gonna end soon.
Oh, you better hurry the fuck up in like a month. Oh no, shit. What do you got?
Wait, it'll
The
turn
third.
21 next year. It can drink.
It's officially illegal to have alcohol. before when Life Hands You Lemons, were you guys touring at this point?
Yeah, we toured in, let's see, we toured the 2 summers before that. Yeah, I think we did a summer tour in 95 and 96. Because then 97, we did another one, and that was when Life Hands You Lemons was out, I believe. So I would say 95 summer tour, East Coast, I think, was the first one.
How'd you guys book it?
Aaron just started calling people. And, the Converge dudes had already toured a little bit. So they had a few, I think, names that we took and maybe like contacts that we probably used. Because I want to say, too, that first East Coast tour we did was us and Cave In. And we just basically went down to Florida and came back up. And then the next summer we did the tour with Jesuit. And that was the full U.S.
Jesus.
And then we recorded When Life Hands You Lemons, and then I don't know, kind of gets hazy after that. But I remember the first 2 tours. One was just East Coast with Cave In, and then the second one was a summer tour with Jesuit. I remember going kind of everywhere.
When did you guys get the school bus? Because I remember the school bus was something that was a theme that I remembered connected. You guys were connected to this. It was always in like pictures and shit like that.
That was before we had really toured. We found that in Lawrence, Massachusetts, which was a town over from Andover, and I think it was $1,000. And we were like, all right, we all been working. We're in high school. It's not like we're paying rent. And so we bought that bus and we drove it around for the next, basically until 2000, really, the next 5 years. And other people Converge used it for a while. It broke down a bunch of times.
Yeah.
We used it a lot. We souped it up. We put like a hammock in it and built a loft and stuff. It was great for a while, and then it just got old. And just like every van, like you just drive it till it kind of can't do anymore.
And you're scared the whole time, and you're like, is it gonna fucking break down today, tomorrow? Do we have money to fix this shit?
Right, and like how much of a problem is it gonna be? How long are we gonna have to wait for the van to get fixed? So. We eventually moved on, but Melvin was a fantastic van for a long time.
That's right, Melvin. Yeah, there's the picture on the back of Venetian Blinds, or no, the cover of the Venetian Blinds it's with the van.
And the back too.
And the back, yeah,
like the back
by the Hollywood
van, yeah.
sign, right? You guys are in front of the Hollywood sign in the distance or something like that.
Yeah, there's one. There's a photo of that definitely. I think that's inside. But again, I haven't looked at the Venetian Blinds layout in quite a while.
Yeah, obviously, like you guys put a lot more stuff out after, like, and this is obviously focused on the late '90s. So I'm gonna be asking the most random questions where you're like, dude, that was like 20 years ago. How the fuck am I gonna remember this? But
right. Well, I'm gonna try to remember it.
It sounds like you're doing pretty good so far.
All right.
So the first time I heard about you guys was that, like I said, that zine, and then I bought the record, and then I bought When Life Hands You Lemons, and then after that, at some point, I found the Actuality of Thought video comp. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do. That was like people bring that up to me still today. That comp, like that was where they first saw us and blah blah blah. I appreciate how strange of a thing that was at the time and how much of an impression it has left.
Well, I think a couple things in it happened because, like, one, I interviewed who was it? It was someone I interviewed, and they knew the guys who put it together, and I ended up emailing the guy. I was like, "Yo, I'm talking about this in this interview." I think it might have been like the fucking interview with Chris from Braid, because I was mentioning there the Braid section. But
yep.
In that, it was like the Get Up Kids playing in some like living room. But this is why I remember this. So we were on tour in like '99, and we show up to the skate park in Greenville, North Carolina. And the guy's like, "Oh, you're gonna be playing downstairs." So we walk downstairs, and I see this huge skate park, and he walks us over, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, "This looks really fucking familiar." I'm like, "Did Piebald and Cave In play here?" He's like, "Oh yeah, there's a video," and I had owned it, and we walked up to the skate shop, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the tape." I'm like, "Oh my god, I fucking own this." Because I saw you guys playing there, so we ended up playing a show there in front of like 10 kids, because no one the fuck we were. But it was just so cool because I was like, I can't believe I saw this place and I'm playing here now after seeing you guys play there. Because two things happened in that. Like, one, that was the first time right before Venetian Blinds came out, before when Grace Kelly with the Wings was the song you guys were playing in that. And
I remember that was the song we were playing, which is kind of interesting to me because that had to be, probably the beginning of us playing it. So anyway, keep going.
Yeah, that's why I want to know because you guys, because this was before Venetian Blinds came out, and The
Yeah,
the
for
one
sure.
thing that I remembered, and I want to obviously ask, but there's like you hit the beginning and you hit the ding ding, and like the guys in Cave In the background going woo, they're like raising their hands. Did you find that after that people in the crowd started doing that? Because every time I'd see you guys, people would always do that. Like, do you think that was because of the comp?
Maybe I know Aaron always eggs people on to do it too, and then, but maybe it did start there, and we just didn't even really realize it because I haven't watched that in a long time. So I remember us egging each other on at every show. Oh, also, I was playing in Caven at that time.
That's also
I
what I
played
want to
bass
ask
with
you
them.
too. Yeah, and I want to talk about that
Um,
too.
but but we were like, we're just like high school buddies on tour together, and so we were messing with each other. But I want to rewatch that because I want to see like Steve and Adam and JR
Yeah,
all doing like the did it woo. So I might have to go back and find it.
you just go on YouTube. It's there. There's a video. You just look up
I
Piebald's
figured.
actual audio thoughts. That's actually that I saw that. But like, did they start doing that on their own? Did Aaron start doing it on stage and then they would
I
just go,
bet they
oh,
started doing it on their own, and
that's
then that's my
crazy.
guess, but I'm not really sure. But I would assume that is like just one of those things that they started doing, and then it just became a thing, you know?
And you could tell too, because you could tell that you guys are buddies. Because I remember being on tour, because the band you were on tour with, even if you didn't really know them, you became really good friends after. But to be friends with that band and go on tour with them, it made it even. You could just see that it was like your own little bubble the whole time. Because you're like, this is all we have. So if the show's great, it's great. But if it sucks, like no one cares. So someone's got to be there to root you on and just have this inside
Yeah,
joke that we have.
totally.
And you could totally see that in that video, which I loved.
Yeah, I remember that tour being a lot of fun. There were some moments of like us just not really planning properly or arriving at shows late, but it was a learning experience and it was really fun, and it kind of set, I think, all of our young minds whirling like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And we're having fun and people seem to appreciate it. Let's keep going. And so, like, I think it was an initial kind of high school vote of confidence that was a really good one. It had to start somewhere.
But when you guys showed up though, like, was the crowds expecting it to be a Cave-In sounding show, or were they expecting it to be a Piebald sounding show, and then Cave-In showed up and they're like, "What the fuck is this?"
No, I think at that point, most people knew that we were a little more melodic, and I think in that Caven was a little bit more on the metal side. I think that is part of the beauty of that time to me, is that a show like that was very normal to have like a split lip or something, right? And then it was like kind of like melodic hardcore, and then you'd have something like Judge, and they're on the same bill. That happened, I think, a lot more often at that time frame because I think there was an openness to what was considered punk and what was considered hardcore, and I think that has changed over time and how we view it. And I also think it's changed because I'm 42 years old now and not 19 to 23. How I see it is different no matter what, because I'm not in my youth. That time had a gracious and open, like everything could be part of the scene. Think about something like Adam and His Package,
Yeah.
right? That's not, what the fuck is that? Was it awesome? Yes, but what is it? I don't know. Did it fit into any mold at all? Not really.
Yeah,
But
it
like
didn't.
the hardcore kids jumped on it because he was talking about like dudes in Franklin and funny shit that hardcore kids knew about. But it wasn't hardcore music, but he played with hardcore bands. So like that was the type of time it was, where there's this awesome scene that has a totally huge mixed bag of types of bands. It was cool.
Yeah, I just interviewed him and I said that I was like, you're kind of like a palate cleanse for what people were expecting, and you showed up and they're just like, it caught him off guard, and he's like, yeah, he's like, people either really loved it, and they just like were looking at me just like, I don't know what to fucking do with this right now. But it
Yep.
fit. It totally fit. It's like, did you listen to Weston at all back then?
Yeah, absolutely. We played with them a few times,
Yeah.
but they were great. That one song that's called Retarded, which is like really
Yeah,
a faux pas these days, but
I
that
know.
song was really catchy.
Yeah, like they were one of those bands too. Like they would tour with Lifetime and play with like
Yeah,
the Bouncing Souls, or like they would play with Judge, or bands like that hardcore, and you're like,
totally. They were sort of, they kind of reminded me of us, not musically, but who they would play with. The bands they would go on tour with reminded me of like who Piebald would go on tour with. They didn't always fit, but somehow usually the overlap worked out all right.
I also felt that their stage presence was very, not like you guys ripped each other off, but they were as chill and playful and just whatever, just not caring
They,
like you guys were, I thought. Like you guys
yeah,
that
it had
yeah.
an element of not taking itself too seriously, but then not being such a joke that it's a joke.
But
I
still
hope,
being
or that's
yeah, but still being tight though. Like you weren't sloppy and go, oh, we don't give a fuck, but like there was tight and there was the joke of just watching you guys play off of each other and smiling, and you could see like, yeah, this is fucking fun as shit. This is what we do.
yep, yeah, that's the point to me, really. Like you've seen bands, I'm sure, where you go see them and you're like, okay, whatever, they're proficient musicians, it's cool, but either they look like they're not having any fun, or uh, they just look like they don't care at all. Like
Yeah.
that to me that is a turnoff. You want to shrink my music boner inside of me? Do that. You know, like that sucks, right? Music
Oh
is
yeah.
like the most free, beautiful thing we have. Like there's no rules. Like whoever's up on stage is so lucky for those 45 minutes. They better appreciate that. I don't know.
No, I
That's how
fucking
I feel.
no, I totally agree. Like I always got bummed when I went to see a band that I would listen to their CD, and they got on stage and they were like, it felt like they were above me or they were just a robot, kind of like, I guess we're doing this. I'm like, fuck, man. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you don't love this as much as
It's a
I love
bummer.
your music. Like this totally sucks. Did you guys? Okay, so another thing. All right, so the cave-in part. Okay, so for years I was like, who's the guy playing bass? Like he looks so familiar, and then I just realized I was like, oh, it's fucking Travis. Like I didn't realize it was you the whole time. Dude, so you were playing with them just on tour, or were you actually playing with them like when you were home?
I played a few shows when they were home too, I remember, but it was before Caleb joined the band. And what happened was they had kicked out Dave Scrod, the singer at the time, and then the bass player quit, I want to say. And so they were just sort of like reforming the band. And so Steve took over. This was like kind of like when Caleb took over for me and Dave left, and then they became a 4-piece instead of 5. But there was that summer tour that Piebald and Cave In did together, which I want to say again was 95. Yeah, 95 probably. I played bass for them, and that just happened because we were friends. I knew I wasn't going to be a permanent member. It was like I was like a placeholder because they were about to record Until Your Heart Stops, and they wanted to have somebody in for that, which I think happened early the next year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was 98 when that came out.
So yeah, like, that sounds about right. But I remember my last show, I played in New Hampshire. I remember Caleb being there, and I remember everybody in Cave In was wearing like "We Love Travis" shirts. It was like such a fun show, and I just filled in for my buddies. And let me tell you, their songs are not as easy as Piebald songs.
No.
They're faster. They're way faster.
Well, that was actually, especially back then, like because that first album they put out, we're not gonna cave in the whole time, but the first album that I bought before Until Your Heart Stops, that was a collection of releases.
Yeah, the Beyond Hypothermia.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
one. It had like a bunch of 7 inches, and then they had the Metallica medley on there, and a few other things, I think. But yeah, it was like the first bunch of 7 inches.
Yeah, and I was so confused in the video because I'm like, who's this guy singing? I've never seen him since then, like after that part. So that was just
Yeah, Dave Scrod. They just had a parting of ways, and because Dave too was the second singer. Yeah, they had a guy named Jay Frechette when they first started, when it was like a high school incarnation of the band.
okay.
And then Dave Scrod joined. I love that we're talking about the history of Cave In.
Yeah,
This is great.
I just really had to just kind of jump on that because because you guys are in that video comp and I'm going, you're so embedded in that. We're gonna go back to Piebald in a second, but like it's like 17-year-old me at that time had these questions, and now 40-year-old me gets to be like, okay, so what the fuck was this? And now it's like, now I know. I'm like, wow, it took me 20 years
That's
to
what
get
happened.
answers. It's amazing.
Yeah, we toured together, and then I was playing bass for them on that tour, and that's how I ended up on that DVD playing bass for Cave In. And it was before they recorded Until Your Heart Stops and before Caleb joined the band.
Yep.
I was, like I said, just a placeholder on that tour, and then I think I played a few other shows while they were finishing writing Until Your Heart Stops.
Was there a fear in Piebald that you were gonna leave and play bass full time?
I don't think so, because I think that everybody in Piebald knew that that was my baby, you know.
Yeah.
And I think even the Cave In dudes knew that. So I don't think there was any weird. Plus, everybody, I remember this was the complaint that in Cave In I smiled too much, you know. So I remember people going up to him after shows and being like, "Oh, your bass player, he just smiles too much." And I was like, "That's not really a complaint in my book, but you know, I guess if you're Cave In, you can't be goofy all the time, like I normally am." So maybe there's a happy medium, and maybe that's why they needed a Caleb, you know.
Yeah, they're like, we need a little bit of serious singer and someone who can sing like the way he did. Like, it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Going into Venetian Blinds, like, you guys, then you were on Hydra Head, then you left that, and then Big Wheel put out Venetian Blinds, right?
Yeah, well, before that, they put out like that Barely Legal All Ages. I want to say, or wait, I don't remember the exact order, but I want to say they did the Barely Legal All Ages thing. I think they did that. It was like demos and it was When Life Hands You Lemons and Sometimes Friends Fight. And it was all on 2 CDs, and then we put out Venetian Blinds.
Yeah, Big Wheel put that out, right?
Yeah, because Big Wheel then, if I am correct, they bought When Life Hands You Lemons from Hydra Head. And then, like I said, we had like the early demos and Sometimes Friends Fight, and we put all that on a 2 CD thing that was Barely Legal All Ages. And then we did Venetian Blinds.
Okay. Yes.
And then we did Rock Revolution. And then there was a break.
How'd you get on Big Wheel though?
On
Let's
Big
not let's
Wheel?
not let's not jump ahead there. Let's jump to like 2007 here. We're staying at 99.
Let's see. How did we get on Big Wheel? I guess I don't really remember, because my first memory of like even hanging out with Rama was that he didn't like Piebald, but I guess maybe we were just all in the same Boston scene and our paths crossed, and then it just kind of happened, and we had friends who knew Rama. Rama had
Yep.
friends that knew us. We were playing shows with Fast Break. We were playing shows with The Explosion. We were playing shows with the Damn Personals. We were playing shows with Cave In. So all these Boston bands that were, I suppose, kind of making waves at the time, we were playing shows with, and it was all kind of connected to this punk hardcore community. And I guess we just eventually met up with Rama. And I remember Rama and Big Wheel had an office in a bigger building called Inatech, was what they called it, but it was like Hydra Head, Matt Galley and Matt Pike doing booking, Chris from Bridge 9, the Big Wheel stuff. Like, it was all in this one. It was amazing. That was amazing too. Late 90s. That ruled. It was like all these different, because even Bridge 9 is not like Hydra Head or Big Wheel.
Yeah.
Like, they all
ska,
have their
right?
own Boston place. No, Bridge 9 is like very hardcore. Like, they'll put out American Nightmare, and Bridge 9 is like the hardcore label of Massachusetts.
Okay.
I would say.
I'm totally gonna mix up something else. When you guys got on that though, did you feel? Because I mean, at this point, I'm sure you guys had a conversation like, we're just fucking going for it. Like, we're not. Did you guys weren't going to school or?
No, we
anything
were
like that?
still kind of like in between tours, going to school. I did drop out of college twice to go on tours, and then I would just come back and re-enlist and start again until something else happened, and then I'd drop out or hope for it to be in the summer. And Aaron went to school to be a mechanic. His school was shorter, but we would just try to plan tours when it was summertime. But if we couldn't, we would just drop out of school.
Like, sorry, mom and dad, about the tuition, but
Yeah.
I need to
Hey,
go
I
on
got
tour.
back in. I graduated with an English degree, which is totally pointless.
For
So here
Yeah.
I am, a bartender, 42. Woo!
Oh, is that what you're doing now? You're bartending out in New Orleans?
Yeah, I've done it for the last like 15 years. It's a great way to be able to get off whenever you want to go on tour, because all you have to do is get your shifts covered.
It's amazing that there's a couple people I talked to where they still have that mentality of like, I talked to Nuno from Wilhelm Scream, and he's like, yeah, I still just take off Mondays because that's the day we always used to practice, so I just always take off Mondays now. There's like
That's fun. Yeah,
little things that just carried. I mean, obviously it's more for you, like, yeah, we need to go on the road, so like fill my
Yep.
shift or something like that. So when you got a Big Wheel, did you feel like, okay, cool, this is the next step, like this is gonna bring us to a new level?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we also felt like we were never really, well, especially when we put out When Life Hands You Lemons, we were like, look, we're not a Hydra Head band. We love that label. It's awesome, but we maybe should go somewhere that's more fitting for us and for the label. So Big Wheel was a logical step. They were doing things like Fast Break. I really love Fast Cars, Fast Women, and obviously we got Luke out of that, and all those guys are my friends too, which is a beautiful thing. But that was kind of like harmonious punk, and then there were things like Jay June, and he was releasing splits with Jimmy Eat World, and so it just seemed a little bit more, and Dan Personals, who we toured with a bunch of times, so it just seemed a little more fitting, the cast of bands that was on Big Wheel. And for a while, I think Rama really, 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 really did help to promote and push Piebald to the masses. I think he absolutely helped to, in the late 90s, early 2000s, help us became as popular as we did then.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought it was a giant jump from When Life Hands You Lemons to Venetian Blinds, because it just seemed because we were on the road, and I remember I bought that record. We were in Michigan playing a record store, and I bought that and Via from At the Drive-In the same day. I remember this, and I was so excited because I was like, what is that fucking song they're playing in that video comp? And then that's what opened up the album.
It kicks it off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So I just thought that the sound just sounded so much like you guys kind of found more of your sound, and I thought there were just so many hooks in that record. And I would just play that shit over and over. Like Mess with the Bulls, that song was my favorite. Like that and Fat and Skinny Asses are like my two favorite songs on that record.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I love
those. Are two weird ones too. I mean, I like both of those songs. We've been talking about playing. We haven't played Mess with the Bulls in a long time, and it's on the list of weird songs that we're hoping to play at Christmas.
I thought it was I didn't think it was a weird song. I thought it was such a like catchy like hit.
I guess it's not weird. Maybe I should rephrase that. It's a song we haven't played in a while.
Why'd you stop playing it?
It's not that we stopped playing it. It's that other songs just took over the set. It's like some songs just fall off the cart for a while, and then you remember them, and you're like, oh, let's start playing that again. And then you realize, oh, you're better at playing it than you were then, or you just really don't like the song. It can go either way. I don't think we really stopped playing it as much as we have a lot of songs, and so sometimes some can't be on every set list. And then after a couple of years, you're like, wow, we haven't played that in a long time. And then that just happens.
Yeah.
So you got to like pull them out of retirement every once in a while, which isn't always the easiest thing to do.
But it's fun.
But
you're like, oh, we actually enjoy this again. We actually found out that's not just like going through the motions playing this.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to take a break from it. But I have a list of, I won't call them weird songs, but I'll just call them songs that we haven't played in a while that we're hoping to pull a few from and play them at the Christmas shows. And then hopefully maybe even next year in February when we go on tour.
Oh, shit. Actually, real quick, I want to talk about that. Was the chorus in Mess with the Bulls, is that like a subtle nod to The Cure, or did you not realize?
Yeah, no, it's a subtle nod to The Cure, for sure.
All right,
I did realize. But there were these two poles in Austin, Mass, where you literally, it's like two poles that came up from the ground, and they're not there anymore, but you touched them both at the same time, and I don't know what was happening, but there was literally, you felt electricity running through them. Like it wasn't supposed to do that.
Okay.
So there was like these two posts that are basically a gateway into a park. And if you touch them both at the same time, you get this like, zzz, like zzz, you feel it in your hands. And that's the song's like about that and hanging out by these two posts that like electrocute you.
Really?
Yeah. Or that's part of it.
Okay, so that like, what did you write your songs about? Was there a method to it, or
whatever was inspiring? No, like and sometimes it's not really about anything. It's like I liked how something sounded, so I just said it. Like maybe there isn't an overall message to every song. I think though, for the most part, the overarching message of Piebald in general is like one of like, don't take things for granted. Make sure you enjoy these brief, delicious moments of life, and try to have a good time and be nice to people. And I think that's kind of like in all the songs.
Yeah. I mean, it was in the songs and the stage show. It's like there was a looseness there, but I think it was like methodical without putting too much effort behind it. Again, this is just me telling you my thoughts on it.
No, that is a nice way to put it, because it's, I don't think I could say that about it and I'd feel really cocky saying that, but you saying that sounds like a compliment, and that is sort of what we're striving for.
Yeah,
You know,
I
like
think you nailed it.
it's like the Weston thing where it's fun and hopefully the musicianship is good, but then also on top of it, you can tell that these people enjoy doing it, and the overarching vibe of the songs is like a fun, have a good time one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. It totally comes through. I think I don't, I'm gonna ask about John Cheese for a second, but I think in his interview I talked about, I think it was his, where I had told the story, I think either then or a couple times. We played Mac Rock in 98, 99. I think this is right around the time when you guys got on Big Wheel and Venetian Blinds was already
Yep.
out. And we played some basement at like noon in front of, I think, maybe a person. And I was like, wow, this was supposed to be really cool and it sucks. But you guys were in town playing, and Cave In played that night with Dillinger Escape Plan, where some 16-year-old girl got her like teeth knocked out in the fucking crowd. And
Oh,
it was
I
like,
think I remember that.
yeah, she was like 14, and she was talking to someone that we knew, just like, oh yeah, I'm here to see this band, and she just ran into the crowd and got like pulled out and like taken in an ambulance because someone just like knocked her teeth out. We're like, ooh, that's
Oh,
fucked. So I hope that, obviously 20 years later she's okay or smiling.
okay.
But you guys, I heard a story of you guys. You were at some party, and I just want to see if this is true. I heard you guys were at a party, and one of you got naked on a roof or a roof of the van. Is this true?
I I want to say yes, and I want to say it was Aaron. Okay, so I can't confirm or deny because I was probably asleep at the time. But if I had my druthers and if I could place money on it, I'm going to say yes, that happened, and yes, it was Aaron. And I'm going to say it was on top of the RV because that's where we were driving at the time.
Okay. Yeah, that's what because I was gonna be. I was like, this has got to be either Travis or Aaron, and I thought it'd be more Aaron, even though I didn't know you guys, but just knowing of you guys.
Yep.
That's what I think.
No, your judgment is you're spot on. That sounds like Aaron. And that sounds like Aaron then. That sounds like Aaron 1998.
Were you guys pretty crazy like that on tour?
Yeah, sometimes Aaron was the craziest, but we all had moments, like we did have some heavy party slash we are weird dudes in a weird land moments.
Yeah, I think there was two things I remember about people saying about Piebald back then when we were on tour. They're like, yeah, these guys are crazy partiers, and they also like, what was the word? They're like total fucking chick magnets. Like girls love these guys. That was like the two things that I
Man,
heard.
I wish I knew about that more. But we did
Or no,
party
it
a
was
lot.
like it was either that or like, oh, they always have like the hottest girlfriends. I think I remember someone saying that. I was like,
Hey, that just builds the myth. So I say we keep these rumors alive. You know what I mean? But we do like to party. We still I can tell that by the end of us hanging out, like we're all way more exhausted because we partied more than we normally do when we're together. I don't know what we just drink more and like we're having fun. And so it's like, oh yes, this is work, but it's also like work while you can drink time. And so it just ends up we just party more together than we do apart. And I can see it at the end of a couple of days. We're like, oh my God, we can't do this like we used to.
well, I think that's the problem is like when you're best friends with buddies that you've known since 14 or 15 years old. Yeah, everyone does that in general, but just being in a band together, like, okay, this is a bit. There's a more of a reason for us to get fucking destroyed for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, we got tomorrow to practice. Let's just take tonight off and drink together. But yeah, no, we do party a lot. The chicks thing, though, I'd say, or had the hottest girlfriends. I mean, I remember some of the dudes having some attractive ladies, and I do remember us hanging out with some beautiful people, male and female. They were everywhere. But
You guys
I
just
don't know.
attracted the beautiful crowd, just in general.
I guess it was just, I don't know, that time. I mean, I remember being in a hot tub with Newfound Glory and a bunch of people I don't know in like Connecticut or something. And, it's like hazy memories of like, I'm sure there was a beautiful girl in that hot tub, but I don't really remember it.
Was there like a point when you guys were touring where like I asked between Life Hands You Lemons and Venetian Blinds, like where you said you got on Big Wheel and you're going, okay, cool, this is the next step. Was there moments like that around when you're on tour going, things have just kind of stepped up another level now? Like you're like, okay, we're in a hot tub of Newfound Glory. Like moments like that where you're going, where the fuck did this come from? Like,
I think that happened more after We Were the Only Friends We Have came out. That's when I noticed it. Like that was the change. It wasn't Venetian Blinds just seemed like a natural growth. But then I remember after Friends came out, and we'd already been on tour before, because we started touring for that record kind of before it came out, right after we started recording, or right after we finished recording it. But I remember once it came out, which was February of 2002, I remember that just the tours started changing for us. And I remember that, like, we opened for Hey Mercedes, but, and this, I don't mean this as a diss, but like, this was the time when we were drawing people. We were blowing them out of the water, you know, like, it, like, and we were supposed to be opening for them. But that happened to us later, where these bands that are opening for us are like, they're just doing better than we are. It's great. It's good for them. I love it. That's how it goes. That's when I noticed it.
But that also was the era where I feel like you guys meshed well into that era where a lot of bands they kind of stayed the course, and they didn't really it didn't sustain. But I felt like when you guys did We're the Only Friends We Have and you guys were out on the road, it's like you were with bands like, who the fuck were they? Like, I mean, this is like,
I mean, Hot Rod Circuit.
yeah.
Like, we toured with them a couple times, and Hey Mercedes. We played a few shows with Braid here and there. We toured with The Format and Me Without You. This is kind of a little bit later, though. Limbeck. I'm trying to think, though.
There's another band, though, like, where it's like...
J. June.
Yeah. But J. June, I think, like, I don't think they ever caught fire, though.
No, not really. We played a couple shows with, like, Brand New. Do you remember that band Lazy Cane? They were also on Big Wheel. They were dope. We toured with them.
Yeah, the singer, he was Cam. He played in not River City. Yeah, River City High when they first came out. He was their guitar player.
And he was also in the band with the girl singer. What are they called? Shit. Whatever. I can't remember the name right now, but they were another Virginia band, and I remember them opening for Brand New as well on the tour we were on, but I'm forgetting the name of that band.
But it's like you guys are like, you were able to sustain when that whole thing shifted, where it went from, it was like this whole podcast about like the late 90s, how great that was, and then 2000 came, I just got kind of like, I'm out of it. And then later on, I was like, okay, I actually like bands like Take It Back Sunday a lot now. But I didn't want to go with how that change was. I was like, the music sounds so different. But I felt like because you guys didn't have, like, you weren't set in stone in a certain genre that you could just go with it, and it worked.
Yeah, that I think is the beauty and problem of Piebald, and I think it's like the blessing and the curse, because we don't fit in anywhere. I don't think we're not really like an emo band. We're not really a punk band. We're not just a rock band. We're not, like, we don't really have a home. We're kind of like a misfit band, but in a good way. I think it gives us our own personality. It makes us our own thing. It's not really a bad thing to not be able to be placed into like specific categories. I think that's probably a good thing more than a bad thing.
Yeah. You could just show up and just be like, yeah, we it makes sense. It's like, it doesn't make sense they're on this bill, but it makes total sense that they're on this bill because they're not like so far left or right of what the main bands are they're playing, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we fit and didn't fit everywhere, it seems,
Now, is this the time when you got John Cheese to roadie?
Yeah. Yes, it was after that. I think for a while we were going out with our buddy Ryan McGaffigan. Ryan kind of, I think, joined us on the tour in the beginning stages. He had worked with Andrew at Newberry Comics. And so Ryan was like, I want to just do something different. And we all liked him. We were drinking buddies, sing karaoke with him. So he came on the road with us, and he kind of did the tour manager / selling merch duties for a while. And then John became part of the fold. But I don't remember exactly where that was, but early 2000s.
I didn't even know who John was until, like, by doing this, people reach out and like, yo, you got to interview this person. I'm like, who is that? And then through conversation, we get to know each other. And I didn't realize that John had been with so many bands, but I just want to know, like, how was he as a roadie?
He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a unique man. There's no other John Cheese. He was great. He did the job he was supposed to do. He was a lot of fun. He almost always a positive person, so like he was a good fit.
I guess I was interested because you said you'd listen to the interview. Like when someone takes their time to listen to that long of someone talking, there's like a reason of like, oh man, I remember this fucking dude. I got to hear his story.
Well, because I haven't seen him in a while, and your blurb was like John Cheese talks about this and Piebald and this other thing. And I was like, oh, what does he have to say about Piebald? So I was like, I got to listen to it. And then it was nice. So, but I did want to hear what he was going to say about it, because I think it's funny to hear. Because he's like an outsider insider. Like, he's not in the band, but like he rode in the van with us for months. He knows some things about us, so it's always interesting to hear what people say. Well, your friends, really, because he's not a friend. He's not going to say something bad, but like I'm curious to see what gets sparked out of John Cheese's brain to say when he's being interviewed about us.
Yeah, I guess it's like I don't realize that when maybe I do realize that when I'm putting like the band on there, it's like, okay, I could put John Cheese as the teaser, but I'm like, okay, what's gonna get people to know this? It's like, oh, it's like Piebald's roadie, and then like I think I put like My Chem on there too, or
Yeah,
that story was really fucking funny that he got kicked out of there.
yeah, we remember that one when it happened.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I remember like John calling us, and we were just, I think we were just in hysterics about it, because to me it's funny, but yes.
Around what time between like We're the Only Friends We Have, and then what was the last record you guys actually? Because that technically is no All Ears and All Eyes All the Time. Is that the last record you guys?
No, and then we did Accidental Gentleman after that too.
That's right.
That was in 2007, and All Ears All Eyes was 2004.
Was there a moment in those 5 years though, like where you're kind of like, all right, man, this is kind of getting old?
Most of that time, yes.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, because it was I felt like I was trying to keep the band together in any way possible, and no one else was really helping me. So it was just a time when everybody was focused on their lives, and that's totally okay. I don't have any like bad taste in my mouth, but that is why I was like, this isn't worth doing to me, because I'm putting in all the effort, and nobody cares about the band as much anymore either. So I'm putting in effort for something that feels unappreciated anyway, so it was just time to take a step back from it.
Were you guys living off the band? Like, were you able to come home from tour and actually not have jobs?
Not all the time, but for a little while we did do that. Yeah, probably like a year and a half, but most of the time we've had to work.
Yeah, I feel like that would have taken a little bit of pressure off in that time. And like, okay, this is like, but then it becomes kind of well, now we have to do this.
It's really stressful to be in like a lower class band, like if you're U2, or even, I guess, Taking Back Sunday, you probably can live off the band now, playing just a couple shows here and there. We're like not in that echelon, I don't think. And so it's sort of like, I think it would be really hard for us to eke out a living with Piebald. I think we can now make a little money from playing shows here and there, and it's really fun, and it's really nice that happens, but like it's really hard to make a living being in a band like ours.
Did you feel that time too, because everything was getting downloaded, that kind of fucked you?
Yeah, totally. And it seemed as though nobody liked All Ears All Eyes all the time, which was a real blow to our like confidence, I think, because we just put out something that we didn't even feel like we put any effort into, which was Friends, and it just was a natural, seemed like beautiful takeover we were starting to have, and then we put out this record that we put a lot of effort into, probably too much, and it just seemed like it fell out like crickets, and we were like, oh fuck. So, and then we realized that while touring, and we realized that, and then it was the same time when people weren't buying records anymore, and was only made on CD anyway, and those are pretty much useless now. And we're kind of then, and I think there were just a lot of things that happened in a couple years that were just a little too tough on the psyche of me and the band, and so that's why in 2008 I was like, I can't pull the whole thing, I can put in some effort, I can do some stuff, but like I need other people there to help me push the thing along or pull it,
Yeah.
So it just was too much, and the I think disappointment of putting out one record that people didn't seem to like, but then a second one that just kind of like didn't matter, and we just needed to pull away from it for a bit, or I did. So I don't care what other people had to do, but it seemed like they were doing that anyway. So that's why I got to the point where I felt like I got to, and now it's a lot better. But we did have to take a while to just sit back and look at it from the outside or from a distance and time perspective. And I think we have a much more appreciative look at it now than we once did.
Do you feel like there was, I mean, I feel like it's a dumb question, but like if you were to go back, is there anything you would have done, I don't know, like differently to set yourself up I don't know. Is there anything you would have done like differently in the band? Like, do you think you would have stopped sooner?
Maybe. No, no, hindsight is 2020. Because if I could go back right now, I would do a few things differently. But it's only because I know what I know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, answer from the perspective of where you are now.
Well, I think I would have. I don't know what I would have done. I think I would have re-envisioned all ears, all eyes, all the time somehow. I don't know what that means exactly, but I think that just if that had taken a different turn, or had been a different record, or had been, I don't know, different songs, or had been a different production, I feel like maybe the career would have gone differently. I also know that we absolutely should have, and I am probably the one that single-handedly ruined this, but when Friends came out, Universal was like, hey, we'll push American Hearts to radio, and you don't really have to sign anything or whatever, and then if that catches, we'll take on Friends with Universal. And I was like, I think Andy and I were like, no, it sounds like a bad idea. We're going to owe him something. And Aaron and Luke were like, no, we should go for it. It's like, and I think Andy and I won out. And looking back on it, it was pretty stupid of me, because all they wanted to do was take the song we'd already written and see if they couldn't use quote unquote universal power to get it played more on the radio.
Yeah.
But I was too much stuck in like, nope, I don't want them to co-opt me or take my song or something. But looking back on it, I was just being stupid or naive or something. You know?
But I mean, like you heard those horror stories though. I mean, I talked to James from River City High, and like actually no, that's a good example. But I mean, because when they got an MCA, it like everything kind of crashed. I think that's also when like the economy crashed. They were like fucked, or it was like 9/11 or something like that. Crazy shit.
The music business just took a dump. Really,
but I mean, it makes
2000s.
sense though. But it makes sense because you'd always hear those stories where like the giant label came in, like the Explosion, like they put an entire record out on a big label and the thing fucking tanked, and that kind of like killed them as a band. So I mean, I mean, I feel like, yeah, you can hindsight, yes, that's the whole question, as you can say like I would change that, but I think that's a real fear though. Like, oh man, doing this is gonna fucking be suicide.
No, that was a very legitimate fear, and that is why I made that decision. But looking back on it, I'm like, why didn't I just let them throw their radio dude at this song and see what happens? Like, it just would. They didn't write our record for us. They didn't tell us how to write a song. They just thought American Hearts should be heard, and which they also, I realized, to them translates into sales of a record. So I do know that it's business minded. But like, looking back on it, I think I would have made the opposite decision, knowing what I know right now.
I mean, yeah, I would say though, it is a hit. I mean, it's like one of the, if you mention Piebald to some people, that I think they would easily beat Grace Kelly with Wings, and they would do the hey,
you're part of, yeah, totally.
Because it's a hook.
Yeah, I got two. Those are my two hindsights. I'd do something different.
Do you guys, when you play now, is like all ears, all eyes, all the time, do you find that is more welcome, where people are asking for those songs? Kind of like when Face to Face plays Ignorance is Bliss, where people were like giving them the finger in shows back then, and now people are like, oh wow, we actually appreciate that album now.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like that, but no one really ever asked us to play anything from the last two records. I've heard like one request for a song off All Ears, All Eyes, All the Time since it's come out, I think. So not really. I'm gonna say no. And maybe it's like me just having bad taste in my mouth because of it, and so I don't even want to hear about what people liking it now, because I'm like, you should have liked it like 15 years ago, dude. But anyway, it's not their fault. It's not even my fault. We just made a record and people didn't like it. And I probably guess we don't either now.
Do you think you guys would have actually like stayed the course if those two records did well?
That would have been a lot more helpful, because not only is it a morale booster, but then also you're being asked on tours. People are like, holy crap, this band they made Venetian Blinds, it was cool. And then they made We're the Only Friends We Have, and it was cool. And then they made this new record, it's cool. Like, a band that has 3 good records, that's like, you got a pretty good track record there.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been helpful to the longevity and career of the band. And like, I mean, we're not struggling now. I mean, we can get things done, like get together to play shows or apparently record some songs, which will probably lead to more songs, but it will never be like it was in 2003. It just can't be. And that's okay. But it is real that will never be a reality again. I don't think that time is just gone. It just is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different perspective now, because you guys can.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that you guys can get together and write and record and put something out, or you can get together and go on tour, and there is like it doesn't sound like there's any pressure behind it, and it's fun again. But you're going, this isn't gonna pay for like a brand new house or I'm not gonna be able to live off this money for like 2 years, or
no, it's like we'll be able to basically pay ourselves for like the work we've missed and maybe a little more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it evens out. We just would much rather be playing music than going to regular work. But it's not, we can't go on tour for, a month and be set for the year. It's just not, we're just not that band.
How'd you guys officially end it? Like, what was the conversation? Like, well, to do it full time.
Well, as full time as possible. I guess at the end we were about to do the tour with the format. I realized I was just like, this is too much. Andy was doing school stuff, so he wasn't even there. Jim was filling in. I remember pushing our van a lot on that tour, and it was kind of like another thing that was just like, what the hell are we doing? So I think before we started that tour, I think I just sat down with everybody. I was like, look, I can't pull the whole sled. I think this is kind of the end. We take a break at the very least. But I'm pretty sure I had the conversation, and I think everybody was pretty much in agreement, even if it's not, was ultimately a sad decision, I think. But, here we are now, and we get to still play shows and play them again. So I guess in the scheme of things, we're pretty lucky. Maybe we just had to take some time off to put it in perspective, and now we can just do it when we want on our own terms. And we're lucky to be able to do that on the back of the history that we have from the 90s and early 2000s. So it's
kind of
sweet. It is pretty cool.
That's I think it's kind of great.
This is the big payoff right now, because here we are. I didn't think we'd really ever play again, and now we can kind of consistently play. We're doing something pretty much every year, even if it's little, but that's a nice, just knowing that musical stuff is around the corner for us is like, that's a good feeling. It's a good thing.
Are you guys like going on, when you play these shows, are they with bands that are also from that time, or is it just like you with some like local opener?
The Christmas shows are us with friends opening. But then when we go out in February, we're doing a few headlining dates, and then that's the tour with Dashboard Confessional.
Oh, wow.
So we are opening those dates.
Holy
obviously.
Shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
How did that get set up?
He contacted our booking agent, or his management did. Wow. Matt Galley's our booking agent, and if he gets thrown offers, he'll just throw them out to us. And if we're interested in it or it works in the schedule, we do it. We were supposed to do the whole tour originally, but then you got Get Up Kids on half of it, and we're on about half of it. And then we tour from Massachusetts down to Austin, where the tour starts. And then we're with him for like 2 weeks or so. I mean, these are huge shows. This is like, we're going to play enormous places. We're playing the Wiltern in Los Angeles. I've stepped foot in the Wiltern, but I've never played it.
The Wiltern. I've never heard of it.
It's huge. It's a theater. It's big. It's really big.
Let me see. I'm like looking at pictures right now. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ.
It's multiple thousands of people. Most of these venues are like thousand persons.
Does that freak you out at all? Or are you guys just comfortable enough where you're like, doesn't even bother you anymore?
It doesn't really bother me anymore, but I think it'll still be weird because it's not like usually when I see that type of a crowd, it's like a festival, right? Like Riot Fest or something. But this is like legitimately Dashboard Confessional just has this many people that want to come see him, and we get to open. Wow. It's great.
That's fucking awesome. I'm definitely jealous. That's so fucking cool. That's like, I mean, this is like, you could say there's different tiers of bands and things like that, and like the mild band, like we never got, like I just wanted to play a show that was that big, and it's like I never got to, and I never will. Like we played a show last year, it was like 300 people, which was great, and it was a packed club, but like to see it was like we're playing a couple thousand people, you're like, god damn, that's so.
And it's
fucking sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be every night like that too. Like this is
Jesus.
I mean, he's a nationally like household known name.
Oh yeah.
My mom knows who Dashboard Confessional is. So, it's really flattering that here we are in 2019. Well, it will be 2020, and Dashboard Confessional asked us to go out on tour. And in one way, we are still a functioning band, and another way, we're just adult dudes who get together every once in a while and are lucky enough to play music. It's great. We're flattered because of that.
That's so fucking badass. All right, 3 questions. I'm gonna let you go. This one I just popped in. The last 2 I was asked, but this one. Do you ever have someone comes into your bar and like they know they spot you and they're like, "Whoa, fucking dude from Piebald"?
Yes, that has happened to me more than I expected, and especially in New Orleans, where we didn't really do that well here. It wasn't like our city, and people come to the Saint and they're like, "You're the guy in Piebald, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, I came here for the weekend, and I heard you worked at this bar, so I came by to check it out." I was like, "Okay, weird, cool." So that does totally happen. I was at remember that band Pigface? They're like an industrial kind of changing member. Well, they played down here like last 2 weekends ago, and I went with my coworker, and one of the guys that works at the club, he's like, my coworker tells him that I'm in Piebald. He's like, "You're in Piebald?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What are you doing down here?" And I was like, "I live down here. I've lived here for 3 years." He's like, and he just starts like talking to me about Piebald and how he wants to illustrate stuff for us if we need anything in the future. And I'm like, I was just trying to go to the Pigface show. But like, it blows my mind that is happening kind of regularly. And it's like, this guy I think was probably a little bit older than I was, which shocked me even more, because most of the people that are, most of the bands I look up to are 5 to 10 years older than me. And I think that most people who are like, you find a band that you like normally, maybe not always, the people are probably a little bit older than you are. Anyway, that being said, yes, it is totally surprising me, especially in New Orleans, when that happens. And it's happened a lot more than I thought it would.
That'd just be hilarious. Like someone comes and they see it, they're like, "Hey," and you're like, "You're part of it."
You're part of it.
They're like, "Thanks a lot. See you later."
Yeah. You're like, let me finish that one for you. I know the punchline.
Yeah, you're like, "Yeah, I wrote the fucking lyrics. Thanks for doing that again." All right, man. So I'm gonna wrap this up, even though I could probably ask you 1,000 more questions, but
we can have a round 2 later. We can always do a round 2.
Yeah, I would love to. I want to do Q&As actually from people listening to the show. I'll be like, what didn't I ask this person? What can I ask them now? Like,
that's a good one. And then you could have literally the part 2 interview where you're like, okay, now I got the hot questions.
Yeah, people didn't like my shitty questions, so here's the ones they really wanted to know. All right, what do you? I mean, I think you did a couple times, but what do you want to plug?
Well, I mean, I guess the new Christmas EP. We have some new songs, and it's been a long time since we put out new music. And the least threatening way that really Luke and I could think of to do it was to make it a Christmas miracle. And then it has to have less to do with it being like a piebald opus, and just more to do with the joy of holiday living. So, the Christmas EP, we present to you a piebald a musical Christmas adventure. And then I think the shows with Dashboard in February are going to be really awesome. So I also know it's Dashboard's tour, and Piebald fans might not want to brave the ticket price, but we hope that they come out in droves and rock out with us.
Or you should brave the ticket price if you've been downloading their shit and you think you want to pay them back. So just
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
yeah, I could say that for you.
Yeah, you could say that. I don't
wish
want
for
to say
you.
that because I do realize the tickets are kind of pricey from what I've heard. So
Whatever.
I do understand.
Fuck that, man. Everyone who's a Piebald fan, they're adults with jobs. Like when we played a show, everyone's like, we shouldn't charge so much for merch. I'm like, everyone here has a job. They can buy a fucking $25 shirt. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I even said that on the mic. I was like, you all work a 9 to 5. Go fucking buy something.
Right.
This is ridiculous. We're not 19 years old anymore.
Nope.
Yeah. Are you guys playing in Raleigh at all or North Carolina with that tour?
No, I don't think we hit that even on the tour either, because we sort of do a Massachusetts to Austin, Texas weird route, and I think we hit like Ohio, Kentucky, Nashville, New Orleans, and then we're going to Austin. But I don't think we hit North Carolina.
God damn it! I definitely would have made it out to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep you posted. Maybe that'll change, but
yeah. Well, all right. So last question. I ask this at the end of every episode. What scene ethics do you still hold on to this day?
Well, doing things on your own. So I guess the do-it-yourself mentality. Like all the managers we've had in life have ended up not working for us, and we know we're not the best at managing ourselves, but at least we do it on our own. Like if you get something from Piebald, it came from us. It didn't come from anywhere else. Didn't come from some label. Didn't come from some other person. So I think what I take with me is being self-sufficient. And I think that's pretty very much the Piebald way. We figured out how to do it on our own way. And now I think even more so that sort of on our own terms. And it's a good feeling. It's our baby, it's no one else's. People can hug it, but it's ours. No one can tell us what it's going to look like or what food it's going to like or who its friends can be, but that's I think a good thing, because we can figure out how to record and write a song and make a record cover, and we're pretty self-sufficient. It takes us a while because we're democratic to a fault, but we get there.